A billionaire widower hears a warning whisper in his spirit. Something is terribly wrong with the woman he's about to marry. His children have stopped smiling. They flinch when she enters the room, and late at night, he hears them crying for their dead mother. So Marcus Hale does the unthinkable. He fakes a business trip, disguises himself as a gardener on his own estate, and watches his home from the outside looking in. What he sees through the living room window shatters him. His fiancée, elegant, poised Alice, standing over his terrified children with a steel rod raised high. And between them, trembling but unmoving, stands Amelia, the young maid with nothing but faith and courage, shielding Scarlett and Aiden with her own body. This isn't just a story about deception, it's about divine protection, a father's anguish, and a humble servant who became a warrior when no one else would. And when Marcus finally tears off his disguise and steps into that room, the truth doesn't just come out, it explodes like thunder. Before we dive into this powerful journey, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and tell us in the comments. Have you ever had a moment where God showed you the truth just in time? We'd love to hear your stories. Now let me take you back to where it all began, to the quiet unraveling of a man who had everything except eyes to see the danger living under his own roof. But before we go any further, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. We will love to know how far this story has gone, but to understand how a billionaire ended up kneeling in a garden shed, praying for his children's safety, you need to know how it all started. You need to meet the man Marcus was before the disguise, and the woman who almost destroyed everything he loved. 3 days into his undercover mission, Marcus had already seen enough to haunt him for a lifetime. Hidden behind gardener's gloves and a weathered cap, he'd installed small cameras in the hallways, tucked audio recorders beneath lampshades, and positioned himself near windows where sound traveled. What he captured wasn't just cruelty, it was calculated psychological warfare. The first recording still made his stomach turn. Alice's voice, crystal clear through the audio device. These children are spoiled. Marcus spoils them rotten. They're weak, undisciplined. If I'm going to be their mother, I need to break them first. Rebuild them properly. She'd said it while laughing on the phone with someone, probably her sister. The word break echoed in Marcus's mind for hours. Another recording captured her calling 4-year-old Aiden slow and difficult because he stuttered when nervous. She'd mocked Scarlett for crying over a drawing of her late mother, saying, "You're 6 years old, act like it. Your mother is gone. I'm here now." But what shattered Marcus most was the video footage from the dining room. Alice, alone at the table after sending the children to bed without dinner, raising a glass of wine to herself and whispering, "Just a few more months of this, and they'll be at boarding school, permanently." Marcus had paused the playback, his hands trembling with rage. This was the woman I was going to marry? But Alice wasn't the only person he was watching. There was Amelia, 24 years old, soft-spoken, with eyes that carried a depth far beyond her age. Marcus had hired her 8 months ago on the recommendation of his late wife's sister. She was efficient, respectful, and nearly invisible, exactly what a grieving widower needed in his chaotic household. What Marcus didn't know until now was that Amelia had become his children's secret guardian. From his position near the kitchen window, he watched her sneak slices of bread and fruit into her apron pockets after Alice sent the kids to bed hungry for talking back. He saw her tiptoe into their room late at night, sitting on the floor between their beds, whispering scriptures her grandmother taught her. "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures." Her voice was like a lullaby made of faith. One night, Marcus heard Scarlett wake up screaming from a nightmare. Alice's voice cut through the darkness. "Stop that noise, you're not a baby." But Amelia was already there. She gathered Scarlett into her arms, rocking her gently, whispering, "You're safe, baby. God's got you. He's holding you tight." Aiden had crawled out of his bed and curled up beside them, and Amelia held them both, humming hymns until they fell asleep. Marcus, crouched in the hallway shadows, felt his throat tighten. Amelia had been raised by a praying grandmother in a small rural town. Her parents died in a car accident when she was 12, and her grandmother became her whole world. She'd taught Amelia that faith wasn't loud, it was steady. It didn't announce itself. It simply showed up when others ran away. And now in a mansion full of marble and wealth, Amelia was showing up every single day for two children who weren't even hers. But Alice noticed. Her paranoia grew like poison ivy, creeping through every interaction. One afternoon, Marcus overheard her cornering Amelia in the laundry room. "You think you're clever, don't you?" Alice hissed. "Sneaking around, turning my children against me." "They're not your children yet, ma'am," Amelia said quietly, folding towels without looking up. Alice's face flushed red. "When I marry Marcus, you'll be gone. I'll make sure you're blacklisted from every household in this city. You'll never work again." Amelia paused, her hands resting on a folded towel. She took a slow breath and whispered under her breath, "Not to Alice, but to God. Give me strength. Let me be a shield." Marcus, listening through the audio feed, felt something crack open inside his chest. And then came the moment that broke him completely. It was late evening. Marcus was trimming hedges near the children's bedroom window when he heard Scarlett's small voice drift into the twilight. "Amelia." "Yes, sweetheart. I wish you were my mommy." Silence. Then Amelia's voice, trembling. "Oh, baby, your mommy is watching over you from heaven, and she loves you so much. But you love us too, right? More than you'll ever know." Marcus dropped the shears. His vision blurred. He stumbled toward the gardener's shed, shut the door, and collapsed onto a wooden crate. For the first time since his wife's death, Marcus Hale, billionaire, CEO, man of logic and control, wept like a child. He pressed his palms together and whispered into the silence, "God, I've been so blind. Show me what to do. Please, just show me." The masks were starting to fall, but the storm was only beginning. It happened on a Thursday morning, when the sunlight streaming through the windows felt like a cruel joke. Marcus was outside, kneeling in the flower beds near the east wing, pulling weeds with methodical precision. The gardener's routine had become second nature, so much so that he almost forgot he was wearing a costume in his own home. Almost. Inside, the house was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that precedes earthquakes. Alice had woken up in a foul mood. Marcus had noticed it in the way she slammed her coffee mug on the counter, the way her heels clicked sharply against the marble floors like warning shots. She'd been on edge for days, ever since she caught Amelia reading bedtime stories to the children, ever since Scarlett had flinched when Alice tried to brush her hair. The paranoia was eating her alive, and then she found the drawing. Aiden had been hiding in the corner of the playroom, his small hands clutching a piece of paper covered in crayon marks. It was a picture of a woman with long brown hair and a bright yellow dress, his mother, the way he remembered her. Beneath it, in wobbly letters, he'd written, "I miss you, Mama." Alice stood in the doorway, her arms crossed, her eyes narrowing. "What is that?" Aiden looked up, his face draining of color. He quickly folded the paper and tucked it behind his back. "Nothing." "Show me." "It's mine," Aiden whispered, tears already forming. Alice crossed the room in 3 strides, yanked the drawing from his hands and stared at it. Her jaw clenched. Her breathing quickened. "You're still drawing her?" Alice's voice was ice. "After everything I've done for you?" "She's my mama." Aiden's voice cracked. And that's when Alice tore it, right down the middle, then again, and again, until the pieces fluttered to the floor like broken wings. Aiden let out a wail that could shatter glass. "No, no, you can't. That's my mama." Scarlett, who had been coloring quietly in the corner, jumped to her feet. "Why did you do that?" she screamed, her small fists clenched. "You're mean. You're not our mom." Alice's face twisted into something ugly, something Marcus would later describe as demonic. "Shut up!" she shrieked. "Both of you! You ungrateful little brats!" Scarlett burst into tears. Aiden collapsed onto the floor, sobbing uncontrollably, clutching the torn pieces of his drawing like they were pieces of his heart. "And Alice?" Alice snapped. She stormed into the hallway and grabbed the metal fireplace rod leaning against the wall. It was decorative, ornate, cold, and in her hands it became a weapon. She marched back into the playroom, her face flushed with rage, her knuckles white around the rod. "You want to cry?" she spat. I'll give you something to cry about. You've ruined everything. You've stolen Marcus's love. You've made my life a living hell, Scarlett screamed. Aiden scrambled backward, his little body trembling. Alice raised the rod high above her head. You think you can turn him against me? You think you can— Stop! The voice came like thunder. Amelia burst into the living room. Her apron still dusted with flour from the kitchen, her eyes wide with terror and fury. She didn't think, didn't hesitate, didn't calculate the cost. She ran directly in front of the children and spread her arms wide, creating a human shield between them and Alice's raised weapon. Don't you dare, Amelia said, her voice shaking but firm. Don't you dare touch them. Alice froze for a moment, her eyes blazing with disbelief. You? Alice hissed. You think you can stop me? You're nothing. You're a maid. A nobody. I'm someone who won't let you hurt these babies, Amelia shot back, her voice breaking. Not while I'm still breathing. You've been poisoning them against me, Alice screamed, stepping closer, the rod still raised. Sneaking around, playing mother, turning them into weak little crybabies who can't let go of a dead woman. Their mother loved them. Amelia's voice rose, tears streaming down her face. And you don't even know what love is. Alice's face contorted with rage. I'll make sure you never work again. I'll destroy you. Behind Amelia, Scarlett clutched her brother. Aiden buried his face in Amelia's skirt, his small hands gripping the fabric like a lifeline. Amelia stood firm, trembling but unmoving, and whispered under her breath, The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not fear. Outside, Marcus heard the scream. Aiden's voice, high-pitched, terrified, a sound no father should ever have to hear. Marcus dropped the trowel. His heart stopped. God, no. He ripped off his gardening gloves and sprinted toward the house, his boots pounding against the stone pathway. The disguise didn't matter anymore. Nothing mattered except getting to his children. A phrase flashed through his mind like lightning, a scripture his late wife used to whisper in moments of crisis. For such a time as this. His lungs burned, his vision tunneled. God, not my children, not today. Please, not today. He hit the back door so hard it slammed against the wall. Inside the living room, time seemed to slow. Alice stood with the rod raised high, her face twisted in fury, and something darker, something broken. Amelia stood between her and the children, arms spread wide, tears streaming, body trembling, but resolute. Scarlett and Aiden huddled behind her, clutching each other, their small faces soaked with tears. And then the door burst open. Marcus Hale, still dressed in his gardener's clothes, dirt on his knees, sweat on his brow, stood in the doorway. His chest heaved, his eyes locked on the weapon in Alice's hand. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Alice's head turned slowly. Her eyes widened in confusion, then recognition, then horror. The gardener, the man trimming hedges, the man who'd been invisible for days. Marcus, she whispered. Marcus didn't answer. His gaze shifted to Amelia, trembling, courageous, shielding his children with nothing but faith and flesh. Then to Scarlett and Aiden, their faces filled with terror and relief all at once. And finally back to Alice. His voice when it came was low, dangerous, controlled. Put it down. The rod hung in the air. The room held its breath. And everything was about to shatter. Alice! Drop it, now! The command cut through the room like a sword. Alice's head whipped around, her eyes searching for the source of the voice. Her gaze landed on the gardener standing in the doorway. Dirt-stained clothes, weathered boots, familiar stance, too familiar. Her grip on the metal rod loosened slightly. Confusion flickered across her face. Who do you think you— Marcus reached up and removed the gardener's cap, then the glasses. His jaw was set, his eyes burning with barely contained fury. Alice's face drained of all color. The rod clattered to the floor. Marcus? She breathed, her voice barely a whisper. Daddy! Scarlett's screams shattered the silence. Both children bolted from behind Amelia, their little legs carrying them as fast as they could toward their father. Marcus dropped to his knees and caught them, wrapping his arms around their trembling bodies. Scarlett sobbed into his shoulder. Aiden clung to his neck like he was drowning, and Marcus was air. "It's okay," Marcus whispered, his voice breaking. "Daddy's here. I'm here. You're safe now." Amelia stood frozen, her hand pressed against her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Her legs nearly gave out beneath her. He was here. He'd been here the whole time. Alice stumbled backward, her hand reaching for the wall to steady herself. "Marcus, this isn't what it looks like. Don't." Marcus's voice was ice. He stood slowly, keeping one hand on Scarlett's shoulder, the other on Aiden's head. "Don't you dare!" Alice's survival instincts kicked in. "They pushed me to this," she said, her voice rising in desperation. "You don't understand what it's been like. They provoke me constantly. They won't listen. They won't respect me. They're 6 and 4 years old, Alice. They're manipulative, especially her." Alice pointed at Scarlett, her fingers shaking. "She cries on purpose to make me look bad. And him," she gestured wildly at Aiden, "he acts slow just to get attention." Marcus's jaw clenched so hard it looked like it might shatter. He reached into his back pocket and pulled out his phone. With a few taps, audio began to play, crystal clear, damning. Alice's voice filled the room. "These children are spoiled. I need to break them first." Her face went white. Marcus swiped to another file. Another recording. "Just a few more months and they'll be at boarding school. Permanently. Marcus, He played a video next. Alice on screen, tearing Aiden's drawing, screaming at him, calling Scarlett names that no child should ever hear. Alice's knees buckled. She sank onto the couch, her hands covering her face. "You were watching me?" she whispered. "I was protecting my children," Marcus said coldly. "Something I should have done from the beginning." He turned to Amelia. She was still standing in the same spot, tears flowing freely, her arms wrapped around herself as if trying to hold the pieces together. Marcus crossed the room and stopped in front of her. His voice when he spoke was soft, reverent. "Amelia," she looked up at him, her eyes red and swollen. "You saved them," Marcus said, his voice trembling. "When I was blind, you saw. When I was absent, you were present. When I failed them," his voice broke. "You didn't." Amelia shook her head, tears falling faster. I couldn't let her. I couldn't." "God sent you." Marcus's eyes glistened. "I don't know how else to explain it. He placed you here, in this house, at this exact moment. You saved my children." Amelia collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Scarlett ran to her immediately, wrapping her small arms around Amelia's neck. "Don't cry, Amelia. Please don't cry." Aiden crawled into her lap, bearing his face against her chest, his little body still trembling. Amelia held them both, rocking gently, whispering through her tears. "You're safe now. You're safe. God's got you." Marcus pulled out his phone again. "Security, this is Marcus Hale. I need 2 officers at the main house immediately." Alice's head snapped up. "What are you doing?" "What I should have done the moment I suspected." He dialed another number. "Jonathan, it's Marcus. I need you at the estate within the hour. Bring termination papers and a restraining order template." "Marcus, please." Alice stood, her voice desperate. "I made mistakes, but we can work through this. Therapy, counseling. I can change." "You held a weapon over my children." Marcus's voice was steel. "You terrorized them. You tried to erase their mother's memory. You planned to send them away permanently. I was overwhelmed. I didn't know how to handle them." "Then you should have walked away." Marcus stepped closer, his voice dropping to a deadly calm. "Instead, you chose cruelty. You chose control. You chose violence." Alice's face twisted with rage and desperation. "You're going to throw me out for her?" She pointed at Amelia with venom. "A maid? A nobody? That nobody has more love in her little finger than you have in your entire body." Security arrived within minutes. Alice was escorted out, still screaming, still threatening, still insisting that Marcus would regret this. "You'll be sorry. I'll take you to court. I'll ruin you." The door closed behind her, and the mansion, for the first time in months, was silent. Marcus sank onto the floor beside Amelia and the children. For a long moment, No one spoke. Then Marcus did something he hadn't done since his wife's funeral. He reached for Amelia's hand on one side and Scarlett's on the other. Aiden was still curled in Amelia's lap. Can we pray? Marcus's voice was hoarse. Amelia nodded, tears still streaming. They bowed their heads. God! Marcus's voice broke immediately. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was blind. I brought danger into this home. I almost lost them. Scarlett squeezed his hand. But you, Marcus continued, his voice shaking. You were watching. You were protecting. You sent Amelia when I couldn't see. You saved my children when I failed them. Amelia whispered softly, The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He restores my soul. Aiden lifted his head and whispered along with her. He restores my soul. Scarlett joined in, her small voice trembling, but sure. They sat there together on the living room floor, broken, bruised, but breathing. And for the first time since tragedy had struck this family, there was something new in the air. Not just relief, not just safety. Peace. Later that evening, after the lawyers had left and the statements had been given, Marcus found Amelia in the children's room. Scarlett and Aiden were curled up on either side of her, fast asleep. Her arms were wrapped around them protectively, even in rest. Marcus leaned against the doorway, watching. The truth settled over him like a blanket. The person God sent to protect his children wasn't the woman he wanted. It was the woman he overlooked, the one who asked for nothing, the one who gave everything. He whispered into the quiet, Thank you. And somewhere beyond the stars, beyond the pain, beyond the masks and the mansions and the mistakes, he believed someone was. Sometimes the angels God sends don't have wings. Sometimes they have aprons. And sometimes the greatest love isn't found in grand gestures, but in the quiet courage of showing up when everyone else walks away.